Hey guys, tonight we're diving into the sandy, sun-soaked world of ancient Egypt, where cats, yes, those fluffy, aloof creatures were basically the rock stars of society. Picture yourself stepping out of a time machine, your sandals sinking into warm desert sand, the Nile shimmering in the distance, and a cat staring at you like you owe it a treat. This isn't just any story, it's a journey into why these furry overlords became sacred. And trust me, you're not ready for how wild this gets. If you think you'd survive a day in ancient Egypt, spoiler, you'd probably get in trouble for not bowing to a tabby. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Oh, and drop a comment below with your city and what time it is where you are. I love knowing who's listening in the wee hours. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let us ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing in the heart of ancient Egypt, around 2500 BCE, in a bustling village along the Nile. The air smells of baked earth and fresh papyrus, and the sun is relentless, painting everything in gold. You squint and notice a sleek, golden-brown cat lounging on a mud brick wall, its eyes half closed, tail flicking lazily. It's not just any cat, it's practically royalty. In ancient Egypt, cats weren't just pets, they were sacred, revered, and sometimes even worshipped. You're about to learn why these creatures clawed their way to the top of the social ladder, and it all starts with the world you're standing in. The Nile is the lifeblood of this place. You look out at the river, its waters glinting under the midday sun, and see farmers tending to lush fields of barley and emmer wheat. The river's annual floods make this land fertile, but they also bring challenges: rats, mice, and snakes that threaten crops and homes. You're walking through the village now, past houses made of mud brick, their flat roofs piled with drying figs. A woman kneels by a granary, shooing away a scampering mouse. That's when you notice the cat again. It leaps from the wall, silent as a shadow, and pounces. The mouse doesn't stand a chance. You blink, impressed, and the woman claps her hands, muttering thanks to the cat like it's her personal hero. Here's the mainstream history bit. Cats became sacred in ancient Egypt because they were natural pest controllers. Around 3000 BCE, when agriculture took off along the Nile, granaries became prime targets for rodents. Cats, with their sharp claws and sharper instincts, were the perfect solution. They didn't just catch mice, they took down snakes, too, including venomous ones like the Egyptian cobra. You're watching this cat now, its job done, as it saunters back to its perch. The villagers didn't just appreciate cats, they saw them as divine protectors. Over time, this practical role turned into something spiritual, and cats became symbols of order against chaos. A big deal in a culture obsessed with balance. You keep walking, dodging a donkey cart piled with reeds, and notice something odd. The cat on the wall isn't alone. Another one, a sleek black one, is sprawled across a doorstep, and a third, a spotted tabby, is napping in the shade of a sycamore tree. Cats are everywhere. You're starting to get why they're a big deal, but then you overhear a conversation that makes you pause. Two men, their linen kilts dusty from a day's work, are chatting by a well. One says, "My cat, Nefer, saved my grain last night, truly a gift from the gods." The other nods, but then lowers his voice. Some say cats can see spirits at night. You raise an eyebrow. Spirits? Really? This brings us to our obscure trivia for the night. In ancient Egypt, some believed cats had a mystical connection to the supernatural. Their glowing eyes in the dark, and they're silent, Almost ghostly movements led people to think they could see or even ward off evil spirits. You're standing there, watching the black cat stretch, its eyes catching the sunlight like tiny emeralds, and you can kind of see why. It's spooky how they move without making a sound. This belief wasn't universal, mind you, but it added to the cat's mystique. You're tempted to pet the black cat, but it gives you a look that says, "Touch me, and I'll haunt your dreams." You decide to keep walking. Now, let us talk about something historians are still scratching their heads over. Why did cats go from practical pest controllers to full-on sacred beings so quickly? Some argue it was purely practical. Cats saved crops, so people elevated them to divine status to ensure their protection. Others say it's deeper, tied to Egyptian religion, where animals often represented gods or cosmic forces. You're mulling this over as you pass a small shrine, a stone statue of a seated cat at its entrance. Was it gratitude for their skills, or did their eerie grace make people see them as otherworldly? Historians are still debating this, and honestly, it's the kind of question that keeps academics up at night arguing over papyrus fragments. You're getting the hang of this place now. The village hums with life. Children chase each other. Potters spin clay, and weavers work under awnings. Everywhere you look, cats are part of the scene. One S curled up on a pile of linen, another S stalking a beetle, and a third is being fed a scrap of fish by a grinning boy. You notice the boy's careful, almost reverent movements, like he's offering a gift to a tiny god. It's clear these animals aren't just useful, they're adored. You're starting to feel a little jealous. I mean, when was the last time someone looked at you like that for catching a bug? Let us zoom out for a second. Ancient Egypt wasn't a monolith, it spanned thousands of years. From the Old Kingdom to the Ptolemaic period, cats' sacred status grew stronger over time, peaking around 1000 BCE, when they became linked to major deities. You're in the earlier days now, but you can already sense the shift. The practical need for cats is blending with something bigger, something spiritual. You're walking past a marketplace now, where traders hawk baskets, bread, and fish. A merchant shoos a cat away from his stall, but he does it gently, like he's worried about bad luck. You smirk. Imagine getting cursed for yelling at a cat. Actually, don't imagine it. You might jinx yourself. You're starting to notice the rhythm of this place. The Nile sets the pace, its floods, its seasons, its gifts. Cats fit into that rhythm too. They're not just random animals, they're part of the ecosystem, the culture, the vibe. You're standing by the river now, watching a fisherman haul in his net. A cat darts forward, snatching a tiny fish that fell from the pile. The fisherman laughs, tossing it another. "For you, little guardian," he says. You're struck by how natural this is, how cats have woven themselves into every corner of life here. It's not just about pest control, it's about respect, maybe even love. But let us not get too mushy. You're still in ancient Egypt, where life is tough and survival isn't guaranteed. You're walking back through the village, the sun dipping low, casting long shadows. The cats are more active now, their eyes glowing in the twilight. You pass a house where a woman is lighting an oil lamp, and a cat brushes against her leg. She smiles, stroking its back. You're starting to get why these creatures are sacred. They're not just useful, they're companions, protectors, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit magical. You're tired now, your sandals caked with dust. You find a spot under a palm tree, the Nile's gentle lapping in the background. A cat yep. Another one settles nearby, watching you with that classic "I know something you don't" stare. You're not sure if it's judging you or just chilling, but you're too exhausted to care. You lean back, the stars starting to peek out above. This is just the beginning of your journey into Egypt's cat obsession, and trust me, it's only going to get weirder from here. You wake up to the sound of a rooster crowing, your back stiff from dozing under that palm tree by the Nile. The air is cooler now, dawn painting the sky in pinks and oranges. You stretch, brushing sand off your tunic, and notice that cat from last night still lounging nearby, its eyes fixed on you like you're late for an appointment. You're still in ancient Egypt, and today you're heading somewhere special, a temple where cats aren't just welcome, they're practically the bosses. You sling a woven bag over your shoulder, grab a piece of flatbread from a passing vendor after some awkward bartering, and start walking, the cat trailing you like it knows the way better than you do. The village is stirring, with potters hauling clay and women balancing water jars on their heads. You follow a dusty path away from the Nile, the landscape growing quieter as mud brick houses give way to open fields. In the distance, you spot it. A temple, its limestone walls gleaming under the rising sun. It's not one of those massive complexes like Karnak, this one is smaller, more intimate, but still awe-inspiring. Tall columns carved with lotus flowers loom ahead, and a stone statue of a seated cat guards the entrance, its eyes inlaid with polished obsidian. You pause, feeling a mix of curiosity and, honestly, a little intimidation. That statue stare is no joke. You step closer, your sandals crunching on the sandy path. The temple is dedicated to Bastet, the goddess of protection, fertility, and cats. But today, you're not just here to gawk at architecture. You're about to see why cats were revered as temple guardians, a role that made them more than just fluffy mascots. You pass the cat statue, half expecting it to blink, and enter the temple's outer courtyard. The air smells of incense, a sweet, smoky mix of myrrh and frankincense. Priests in white linen robes move silently, carrying trays of offerings, bread, fish, and little bowls of milk. And then you see them, cats, dozens of them. Some are sprawled on stone benches, others weave between the priest's legs, and one particularly bold tabby is perched on a low altar, licking its paw like it owns the place. Here's the mainstream history fact. In ancient Egypt, temples dedicated to Bastet often housed cats as sacred guardians. By the Middle Kingdom, around 2000 BCE, these temples became centers of worship, and cats were seen as living embodiments of the goddess. You're watching a priest now, his shaved head glistening in the sunlight, as he kneels to offer a saucer of milk to a sleek black cat. The cat sniffs it, takes a dainty sip, and the priest bows his head, muttering a prayer. You're impressed these cats aren't just hanging out, they're part of the ritual. Their presence was believed to protect the temple from spiritual and physical threats, like vermin or even bad omens. You glance at the tabby on the altar, wondering if it knows how important it is. Probably. Cats always seem to know. You wander deeper into the courtyard, careful not to step on any tails. The temple is alive with activity, but it's calm, almost serene. You notice a group of worshippers, mostly women, kneeling before a small shrine. They're leaving offerings, tiny cat-shaped amulets, fish wrapped in palm leaves, even a few copper bracelets. One woman catches your eye, her face lit with devotion as she strokes a ginger cat curled beside her. For Bastet's favor, she whispers and you nod, pretending you totally get it. You're starting to see how cats are more than pets here, they're a bridge to the divine, a way to connect with the goddess herself. Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Did you know some temples trained cats to participate in ceremonies? You're skeptical, but as you watch, a priest claps his hands, and 3 cats, yes, 3 line up near the shrine, sitting primly as if they rehearsed this. Apparently, priests would use treats like fish or milk to encourage cats to appear at specific moments, making it seem like the animals were blessing the rituals. You're watching this ginger cat now, its tail swishing as it stares at the priestess' tray of fish. Is it divine or just really smart? You're leaning towards smart, but the worshippers around you are whispering about miracles. You stifle a chuckle. Cats, the ultimate con artists. You move toward the inner sanctum, where the air grows cooler and the light dims. The walls are carved with scenes of Bastet, her lioness head fierce yet graceful, and cats are everywhere in the art, leaping, lounging, hunting. You're struck by how central cats are to this place, not just as animals but as symbols. You're about to step inside when a priest stops you, his expression stern. Only the pure may enter, he says, eyeing your dusty sandals. You're about to argue, but then you notice a cat rubbing against his leg, and he softens, shooing you away gently. You're not sure if it's the priest or the cat letting you off easy, but you take the hint and back off. This brings us to something historians are still debating. How much of the cat's temple role was spiritual versus practical? Some scholars argue the cats were primarily symbolic, kept in temples to represent Bastet and draw worshippers. Others insist their pest control skills were just as crucial. Temples stored grain and offerings, making them rodent magnets. You're mulling this over as you watch a cat chase a beetle across the courtyard. Was it divine inspiration or a clever way to keep the temple rat-free? The truth probably lies in the middle, but good luck getting academics to agree. They rather argue over hieroglyphs than admit it's both. You find a shady spot under a column, the stone cool against your back. The temple is buzzing, but it's a peaceful kind of chaos. You watch a young girl, maybe 10, giggling as she dangles a reed for a kitten to chase. The kitten pounces, tumbling over its own paws, and the girl laughs, her joy infectious. You're starting to get why cats were so beloved here. They're not just guardians, they bring life to this place. A spark of playfulness in a world of rigid rituals. You're tempted to join the girl, but your cat friend from earlier, the one who followed you, has other plans. Plops down beside you, staring like it's claiming you as its human. Let us take a step back. Temples like this weren't just religious hubs, they were community centers. Places where people came to pray, trade, or just hang out. Cats made them welcoming in a weird way. You're watching the worshippers now, their faces relaxed as they pet cats or leave offerings. It's like the cats are the unofficial hosts, setting the vibe. You notice a man sketching a cat on a piece of papyrus, his strokes careful, almost reverent. You lean closer, curious, and he smiles. "For my daughter," he says. "She loves them." You nod, thinking about how cats seem to connect everyone here, from priests to kids to random artists. You're starting to feel the weight of the day, the heat, the walking, the sheer intensity of this place. You take a sip from your water skin, the liquid warm but refreshing. The temple is quieter now, the midday sun driving most people to seek shade. You watch a priest sweep the courtyard, a cat trailing him like a tiny supervisor. You're struck by how normal this feels, how cats are just part of the temple's rhythm. They're not worshipped in a creepy, over-the-top way. They're respected, cared for, maybe even spoiled. You glance at your cat friend, who is now napping, one paw twitching. Spoiled, definitely. You're not done exploring yet, but you're content to sit here for a bit, the temple's hum washing over you. The cats are still doing their thing, lounging, hunting, charming everyone. You're starting to understand their role as guardians, not just of grain or rituals, but of something less tangible, like hope or joy. You lean back, the column-esque shadow shielding you from the sun. Your cat friend stirs, giving you a sleepy blink. You're not sure what's next, but you're ready to keep following these feline overlords wherever they lead. You're still in the shade of that temple column, the hum of the Bastet sanctuary fading as the afternoon heat settles over you like a heavy blanket. Your cat friend, the one who has basically adopted you, is sprawled out, snoring softly, its whiskers twitching in some dream about fish. You're about to doze off yourself when you notice a group of priests heading toward a side gate, carrying baskets draped with linen. Curiosity gets the better of you, so you nudge the cat, who gives you a look like you've ruined its day, and follow at a distance. The priests are moving toward a low, mud brick building behind the temple, its entrance half hidden by acacia trees. You're not sure what's going on, but something tells you it's about to get weird. Spoiler, you're right. You trail the priests, keeping to the shadows of the trees, your sandals silent on the packed earth. The air smells different here, less incense, more like dust and something faintly herbal. You reach the building, its walls plain compared to the temple's ornate carvings. A priest glances your way, and you freeze, pretending to admire a random shrub. He doesn't tee-by it, but waves you closer, probably figuring you're harmless. You seek the sacred rites? He asks, his voice low. You nod, hoping that's the right answer, and he ushers you inside. The room is dim, lit by flickering oil lamps, and the air is thick with the scent of natron, a salty mineral that makes your nose itch. Then you see it. Rows of tiny linen-wrapped bundles, each one shaped suspiciously like a cat. Welcome to the world of cat mummification, where ancient Egyptians took their cat obsession to a whole new level. You're standing there, mouth half open, as the priests work with quiet precision. One unwraps a basket, revealing the body of a small, golden-furred cat, its eyes closed as if it's just napping. You feel a pang of sadness, but the priest handles it with such care, like it's a precious relic. He sprinkles natron over the body, muttering prayers, while another priest prepares linen strips. You're starting to piece it together. These cats aren't just being buried, they're being preserved, turned into mummies to honor their sacred status. You glance at the shelves, where dozens of these bundles are stacked, some adorned with tiny amulets or painted with delicate patterns. It's beautiful in a slightly creepy way, and you're not sure if you're fascinated or just really uncomfortable. Here's the mainstream history fact. Cat mummification was a widespread practice in ancient Egypt, especially from the late period onward, around 664 BCE. Cats were mummified as offerings to Bastet, either by individuals seeking her favor or by temples fulfilling religious duties. You're watching the priests now, their movements methodical as they wrap the caddis body, tucking in herbs and resins to preserve it. The process could take weeks, similar to human mummification, and the result was a mummy that could be placed in a temple, a tomb, or even a special cat cemetery. You're struck by the effort, hours of labor, expensive materials, all for a creature that probably spent its life napping and chasing bugs. But to these people, it's worth it. Cats were divine, and mummifying them was a way to ensure their journey to the afterlife. You step closer, careful not to bump anything, and notice a small wooden box nearby. It's carved with images of cats and inlaid with turquoise, clearly meant for one of these mummies. You're curious, so you peek inside another basket where a priest is preparing a different cat, this one a sleek black one with a tiny collar of woven reeds. You're starting to see the scale of this. There are hundreds of these mummies, maybe thousands across Egypt. You're trying to wrap your head around it when the priest catches you staring. For Bastet, he says simply, like, that explains everything. You nod, but you're thinking, okay, but why so many? That S when you stumble on our obscure trivia for the night. Hear us the weird bit. Some cat mummies weren't even real cats. You're skeptical, but as you watch, another priest opens a basket, and instead of a cat, it's a bundle of reeds and cloth shaped to look like one. Apparently, in later periods, when demand for cat mummies outstripped supply, some priests got creative, making fake mummies to sell to worshippers or offer in temples. You're standing there, trying not to laugh, as the priest treats this fake cat with the same reverence as the real ones. You can't tell if it's a scam or just a practical workaround, but it's peak ancient Egypt. When you love cats so much, you'll mummify a stick and call it sacred. You glance at your cat friend, who has wandered in behind you and is sniffing a linen scrap. It gives you a look like, don't even think about mummifying me. This brings us to something historians are still arguing about. Were cat mummies always religious, or was there a commercial angle? Some scholars say the mummies were purely devotional, a way for people to honor Bastet and ensure divine protection. Others point to evidence of mummy farms, where cats were bred specifically to be killed and mummified, suggesting a profitable industry. You're mulling this over as you watch the priests work, their faces solemn but efficient. Was this about faith, or were temples cashing in on the cat craze? The truth is probably a mix of both, but good luck getting archaeologists to stop bickering over it. They'd rather dig up another tomb than agree. You're starting to feel the weight of this place, the dim light, the heavy air, the sheer strangeness of it all. You wander to a corner where a young apprentice is practicing wrapping a small cat mummy, his fingers clumsy but careful. You notice he is humming softly, a tune that sounds oddly cheerful for such a somber task. You catch his eye and he grins. They're happy in the afterlife, he says, nodding at the mummy. You're not sure if he is comforting you or himself, but it's sweet, in a way. You're starting to see how this practice, bizarre as it seems, is rooted in love and respect. These cats aren't just objects, they're family, guardians, maybe even friends. You step outside for some air, the sunlight blinding after the dim workshop. Your cat friend follows, stretching dramatically like it's been through an ordeal. You're back in the temple's outer courtyard now, where life feels a bit more normal. Worshippers are still coming and going, leaving offerings at the Bastet shrine. You notice a woman placing a tiny cat mummy at the base of a statue, her hands trembling with emotion. You're struck by how personal this feels, not just a ritual, but a way to say goodbye. You're starting to get why people went to all this trouble. Cats weren't just sacred, they were part of the heart of this world. You find a spot to sit, a low stone bench near the temple gate. The cat plops down beside you, batting at a stray leaf. You're thinking about the mummies, the care, the cost, the whole wild concept. You glance at the temple, its walls glowing in the late afternoon light, and wonder how many cats are resting in there, wrapped in linen, ready for eternity. It's a lot to take in, but you're not done yet. This is ancient Egypt, and the cat obsession is only getting deeper. You're still sitting on that stone bench by the temple gate, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the courtyard. Your cat friend, now apparently your official tour guide, is lazily grooming itself, pausing to shoot you a look that says, "You're still here?" You're still processing the whole cat mummification thing, linen-wrapped kitties, fake mummies, the works when you hear a soft chant drifting from the heart of the temple. It's rhythmic, almost hypnotic, and it pulls you to your feet. The cat, sensing adventure or maybe just bored, trots ahead, leading you back toward the Bastet sanctuary. Today, you're not just visiting a temple, you're about to meet Bastet herself, the cat goddess in her sacred shrine. Buckle up, because this is where things get divine. You follow the chant, weaving through the courtyard where worshippers are thinning out, their offerings of fish and amulets piled high at the cat statues. The air is thick with incense, curling like mist around the lotus-carved columns. Your cat friend darts ahead, slipping through a narrow doorway into the temple's inner sanctum. You hesitate last time. A priest stopped you for your dusty sandals, but the chanting grows louder, and curiosity wins. You step inside, the air cooler, the light dimmer, and your eyes adjust to a space that feels like it's holding its breath. The walls are painted with vivid scenes. A woman with a lioness head, surrounded by cats, her eyes fierce yet warm. That's Bastet, and you're standing in her house. The shrine is smaller than you expected, but it's stunning. A golden statue of Bastet dominates the room, her feline face serene, one hand holding a sistrum, a rattle-like instrument, and the other cradling a tiny cat. Oil lamps cast flickering shadows, making the statue's eyes polished lapis lazuli seem alive. You're surrounded by priests, their white robes glowing in the lamplight, and a few worshippers, mostly women, kneeling in reverence. Your cat friend, unbothered by the sacred vibes, hops onto a stone ledge and starts batting at a stray feather. You're torn between shushing it and just letting it be the boss. Spoiler, it's definitely the boss. Here's the mainstream history fact. Bastet was one of ancient Egypt's most beloved deities, worshipped as the goddess of protection, fertility, and domestic joy, with cats as her sacred animals. By the New Kingdom, around 1550 BCE, her cult was massive, centered in the city of Bastet, where her temple drew thousands of pilgrims. You're watching the priests now, one shaking a sistrum in a rhythmic clatter, another offering a bowl of milk to the statue. The worshippers join in, their voices soft but fervent, asking for Bastet's blessings, safe homes, healthy children, maybe a pest-free granary. You're struck by how personal this feels. Like Bastet isn't some distant deity, but a friend who gets it. The cats in the shrine, lounging on cushions or weaving between legs, make it even cozier, like you're in a divine cat cafe. You step closer to the statue, careful not to trip over a black cat that's decided the floor is its personal runway. The air smells of myrrh and something floral, maybe lotus. You notice the offerings piled at Bastet's feet. Tiny cat figurines, bronze ankhs, even a few strings of beads. One worshipper, a young woman with coal-lined eyes, catches your attention. She's holding a clay cat amulet, whispering a prayer for her newborn daughter. You can't hear the words, but her face says it all: hope, love, a touch of fear. You're starting to see why Bastet mattered so much. She wasn't just about cats, she was about keeping life safe and warm, like a cosmic hug. Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Did you know Bastet's festivals were basically ancient Egypt's version of a party blowout? You're picturing a solemn ceremony, but the annual festival of Bastet in Bastet was a wild affair, with music, dancing, and get this, boatloads of revelers sailing down the Nile, singing and clapping to honor the goddess. Texts say hundreds of thousands showed up, and cats were part of the vibe, carried in baskets or just wandering the crowds. You're imagining it now, glancing at your cat friend, who's now napping on the ledge. Could it handle a Nile party boat? Probably, as long as there was fish. You smirk, thinking how these festivals made Bastet's worship feel like a community rave, not just a temple ritual. You're trying to stay focused, but the chanting is lulling you into a trance. The priests are circling the statue now, their sistra rattling in unison. You notice a small alcove where a priest is tending to a living cat, brushing its fur with a reed comb. The cat, a sleek tabby, looks ridiculously pampered, like it's getting a spa day. You're about to ask why when another priest shoots you a look, and you decide to just observe. This brings us to something historians are still debating. Was Bastet's cat connection purely symbolic, or did it reflect a deeper cultural shift? Some argue her feline form tied to earlier lioness deities, like Sekhmet, showing a move from fierce to nurturing worship. Others say it was practical cats protected homes, so Bastet became their divine mascot. You're watching the pampered tabby, wondering if it's a god or just a really lucky pet. Scholars are still duking it out over papyrus scraps, and honestly, it's anyone's guess. You find a spot to sit, a low stone bench near the alcove, and your cat friend hops down to join you, curling up like it's claiming the seat. The shrine is calming, despite the chanting and the occasional sistrum jangle. You notice a child, maybe 6, sneaking a piece of bread to a kitten under a priestess' nose. The priest pretends not to see, and you stifle a laugh. It's moments like this that make Bastet's worship feel alive, not just a dusty relic. You're starting to get why people flock to her cats. Music, a goddess who felt like family. You're tempted to leave an offering yourself, but all you've got is half a flatbread, and your cat friend is eyeing it like it's hers. You're feeling the day's weight now, the heat, the walking, the sheer intensity of standing in a goddess's presence. You take a deep breath, the incense filling your lungs, and watch the worshippers. They're ordinary people, farmers, weavers, mothers, yet here, they're part of something bigger. You glance at Bastet's statue, her eyes seeming to follow you. It's not creepy, just knowing, like she is saying, I've got this. You're not sure if it's the goddess or the cats, but this place feels safe, like nothing bad can touch you here. You lean back, the stone cool against your shoulders. Your cat friend is purring now, a soft rumble that makes you smile. The chanting fades, and the priests begin to disperse, leaving the shrine quieter. You're not ready to leave yet, but you know there's more to see, more to learn about these feline overlords and their divine queen. For now, you're content to sit, the goddess's presence lingering like a warm breeze. You're still in the Bastet shrine, the incense lingering in the air as the last notes of the priest's chants fade. Your cat friend, now officially your sidekick, is stretching dramatically on the stone bench, giving you a look that says, "Can we move on already?" The shrine's golden statue of Bastet glimmers in the lamplight, but the day's heat is creeping back, and you're feeling the urge to explore beyond the temple's sacred walls. You stand, brushing dust off your tunic, and your cat trots ahead, leading you out of the sanctum and back into the bustling world outside. Today, you're leaving the divine behind to see how cats fit into the everyday lives of Egyptian families. Spoiler: they're basically running the show at home, too. You step into the courtyard, the sun lower now, painting the limestone columns in warm oranges. The temple is quieter, with only a few worshippers lingering by the cat statues. You follow your cat friend through the gate, back onto the dusty path that winds toward the village. The Nile glitters in the distance, and the air smells of baked earth and ripe figs. You're heading to a cluster of mud brick houses, their flat roofs piled with drying laundry and baskets of grain. The village is alive, children chase each other. A potter spins clay, and a woman haggles with a fishmonger. Your cat weaves through the chaos, dodging a donkey cart like it's done this a million times. You're starting to think it's the real guide here. You reach a modest house, its walls smoothed with plaster and painted with simple red ochre patterns. A reed mat hangs over the doorway, swaying in the breeze. You hesitate, not sure if you're invited, but a woman steps out, her linen dress stained with flour. She spots your cat, who has already made itself at home on a nearby wall, and smiles. Yours? She asks, nodding at the cat. You shrug, not sure how to explain that it just adopted you. She laughs and waves you inside, offering a clay cup of barley beer. You take a sip, warm, slightly sour, but refreshing, and step into her home, ready to see what cat life looks like on the domestic front. The house is cozy, with a packed earth floor and walls lined with woven baskets. A low wooden table holds bread, onions, and a bowl of dried fish. And there, sprawled across a linen cushion, is a sleek black cat, its eyes half closed like it's judging the decor. Another cat, a spotted tabby, is curled up in a corner, batting at a ball of twine. You're struck by how normal this feels. Cats lounging, napping, owning the place. The woman, who introduces herself as Merit, kneels to scratch the black cat's ears. This is Sekhmet, she says, and that S on poo. You nod, trying not to laugh at the idea of naming a cat after a war goddess. These cats aren't just pets, they're family members with serious street cred. Here's the mainstream history fact. Cats were integral to ancient Egyptian households, especially from the Middle Kingdom onward, around 2000 BCE. They lived alongside families, protecting homes from rodents and snakes that threatened food stores and safety. You're watching Sekhmet now, who has leapt onto the table to sniff the fishbowl. Merit shoos her gently, but you can tell she is not mad. Cats earned their keep by keeping vermin at bay, especially in homes like this, where granaries were tucked into back rooms. You peek into one, a small space piled with barley sacks, and spot a third cat, a ginger one, pouncing on a scurrying mouse. Merit claps her hands, praising the cat like it just won a chariot race. You're impressed. These cats are basically the home security system. You sit on a reed mat, the beer cup warm in your hands, and watch the household hum. Merit's husband, a scribe named Tahotep, is scratching notes on a papyrus scroll, while their daughter, a girl of about 8, giggles as she dangles a feather for Anpu to chase. The cats are everywhere, weaving through daily life like they own the place. You notice Merit slipping Sekhmet a scrap of fish, her movements soft, almost reverent. It's clear these animals aren't just useful, they're cherished. You're starting to see how cats blur the line between practical and sacred, even in a simple home like this. Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Some Egyptian families believed cats brought good luck to the household, especially if they chose to stay. You're skeptical, but Merit tells you a story as she needs dough for tomorrow's bread. When Sekhmet showed up last year, she says, our crops doubled. You raise an eyebrow, but she is dead serious. Apparently, a cat deciding to live with you was seen as a sign of divine favor, maybe even Bastet's blessing. You glance at your cat friend, who is now napping on the wall outside, and wonder if it's secretly blessing you. Probably not, it looks more like it's dreaming of snacks. Still, the belief was strong enough that some families left out milk or fish to invite cats to stay. You're picturing a cat auditioning for a household, and it's honestly adorable. You're settling into the rhythm of the house now, the sounds of laughter and clinking pottery wrapping around you. Tahotep looks up from his scroll, noticing your interest in the cats. He tells you they're not just for pests. Cats keep the family safe in other ways. You're curious, so he points to a small clay amulet on the wall, shaped like a cat's head. Wards off bad spirits, he says, half smiling, like he is not sure he believes it himself. This brings us to something historians are still debating. How much of the cat's household role was practical versus spiritual? Some scholars argue cats were primarily pest controllers, their sacred status a bonus. Others say their spiritual role, warding off evil or bringing luck, was just as central, tied to Bastet's growing cult. You're watching Anpu chase that twine ball, wondering if it's a guardian or just a goofball. The truth is probably both, but try telling that to academics arguing over tomb inscriptions. You're starting to feel at home here, the warmth of the family pulling you in. Merit offers you a piece of bread, still warm from the oven, and you tear off a chunk, savoring the nutty flavor. The ginger cat, fresh off its mouse hunting victory, slinks over, eyeing your bread like it's owed a share. You break off a tiny piece, earning a purr that feels like a high five. The girl, whose name is Nefertari, giggles and joins you, showing you how to toss the twine ball so Anpu does a dramatic flip. You're laughing now, the stress of the day melting away. These cats aren't just protectors, they're the glue of this household, bringing everyone together. You step outside for a moment, the evening air cool against your skin. The village is quieter now, the Nile a dark ribbon under the stars. Your cat friend is still on the wall, watching you with that classic "I know something you don't" stare. You're starting to get why cats were so loved here, not just for what they did, but for how they made people feel. You lean against the wall, the mud brick rough under your palms, and listen to the sounds of the house behind you. Merit humming, Nefertari's laughter, the soft thud of a cat jumping off a table. It's ordinary, yet magical, and you're ready to see where this cat-filled journey takes you next. You're leaning against the mud brick wall outside Merit's house, the cool evening air brushing your skin as the Nile hums softly in the distance. Your cat friend, still perched on the wall like it's auditioning for a statue, gives you a slow blink, the kind that says, "You're welcome for sticking around." The village is settling into night, with oil lamps flickering in doorways and the faint sound of a lute drifting from somewhere nearby. You're about to head back inside for another piece of Merit's bread when you notice a glint of gold catching the moonlight, a woman passing by, her neck adorned with a delicate cat-shaped pendant. Suddenly, you're curious. Cats aren't just household heroes, they're inspiring some serious bling. Time to dive into the world of ancient Egyptian jewelry, where felines are the ultimate fashion icons. You wave goodbye to Merit's family, promising to visit again, and follow the woman toward the village market. Your cat friend hops down, trotting beside you like it's ready to critique your shopping skills. The market is winding down, but a few stalls are still open, their reed awnings sagging under the weight of the day. You spot a jeweler's table, lit by a single oil lamp, piled with necklaces, bracelets, and amulets, many shaped like cats. The jeweler, a wiry man with kohl-rimmed eyes, notices your interest and beckons you over. For protection, he says, holding up a tiny gold cat pendant, its eyes inlaid with turquoise. You're hooked, ready to see how cats clawed their way into Egypt's jewelry game. You sit on a woven mat beside the stall, the air smelling of dust and melted wax. The jeweler, whose name is Ammonius, starts polishing a bronze cat amulet, his fingers nimble despite the calluses. He tells you cats are everywhere in Egyptian jewelry, not just for show, but for power. You're holding the gold pendant now, its weight surprising in your palm. It's small but detailed, with whiskers etched so finely you can almost see them twitch. You notice other pieces, earrings shaped like curled-up cats, rings with feline heads, even a broad collar necklace with cat charms dangling like tiny guardians. You're starting to get why that woman's pendant caught your eye. Cats aren't just accessories, they're a vibe. Here's the mainstream history fact. Cats inspired a wide range of ancient Egyptian jewelry, especially from the New Kingdom onward, around 1550 BCE, when Bastet's cult was at its peak. Amulets, necklaces, and rings featuring cats were worn for protection, fertility, and connection to the goddess. You're watching Ammonius now as he shows you a faience cat amulet, its blue-green glaze shimmering in the lamplight. These pieces weren't just decorative, they were talismans, believed to channel Bastet's power to keep wearers safe from harm or bad luck. You're picturing Meredith's daughter, Nefertari, wearing a tiny cat pendant to ward off nightmares, and it's honestly adorable. The jewelry was often made of gold, bronze, or faience, a glazed ceramic, and even common folk could afford simpler versions. You're tempted to barter for the gold pendant, but your cat friend gives you a look like, "Don't waste your bread budget." You lean closer, watching Ammonius etch a new piece, a silver ring with a cat's face, its ears perked like it's mid-hunt. The market is quiet now, the other vendors packing up, but Ammonius' stall feels alive, each piece telling a story. You notice a woman browsing nearby, her arms jingling with cat-shaped bangles. She catches your eye and smiles, tapping one of the bangles. "For my son," she says. "He is always sick." You nod, struck by how personal these pieces are, not just fashion, but hopes and prayers worn close to the skin. You're starting to see cats as more than household pets or temple guardians, they're symbols woven into the very fabric of life here. Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Some cat jewelry doubled as musical instruments. You're skeptical, but Ammonius pulls out a curious piece, a bronze cat amulet with tiny bells dangling from its paws. He shakes it, and it tinkles softly, like a miniature sistrum, the rattle used in Bastet's worship. Apparently, these jingling cat amulets were worn during festivals or rituals, adding a musical layer to dances or prayers. You're picturing that wild festival of Bastet, with people sailing down the Nile, their cat jewelry chiming in the breeze. You glance at your cat friend, who is now batting at a stray bead, and wonder if it would rock a bell amulet. Probably, but it'd complain about the noise. You stifle a laugh, earning a curious look from Ammonius. You're getting lost in the sparkle of the stall when Ammonius starts telling you about his craft. He learned from his father, who learned from his, each generation perfecting the art of capturing cats in metal and stone. He shows you a sketch on papyrus, a design for a new necklace with a cat leaping after a bird. You're impressed by the detail, the way the cat's muscles ripple even in ink. This brings us to something historians are still debating. Was cat-themed jewelry primarily religious, or was it also a status symbol? Some scholars argue these pieces were mostly devotional, worn to honor Bastet or seek her protection. Others say they were fashion statements, especially for the elite, who flaunted gold cat necklaces to show wealth and piety. You're holding the faience amulet now, its glaze cool against your fingers, and wondering if it's about faith or flexing. Probably both, but good luck getting archaeologists to settle that one they'd rather polish another potsherd. You're starting to feel the night's chill, the market now just a handful of flickering lamps. Ammonius offers you a clay cup of watered wine, and you sip it, savoring the tart bite. Your cat friend has claimed a corner of the mat, curling up like it's ready for a nap. You notice a young girl, maybe 10, eyeing a simple faience cat ring at the stall. Her father, a farmer by the look of his dusty kilt, hesitates but hands Ammonius a small sack of barley. The girl slips the ring on, her face lighting up like she has just won the Nile lottery. You're smiling now, the moment warming you more than the wine. Cats aren't just inspiring jewelry, they're sparking joy, one shiny trinket at a time. You wander away from the stall, the gold pendant still tempting you, but you're too broke or too sensible to barter for it. The village is fully dark now, stars pricking the sky like scattered jewels. You pass houses where cats are silhouetted in doorways, their eyes glowing like tiny moons. You're thinking about the jewelry, the care and craft behind each piece, and how cats have become more than animals, they're muses, protectors, maybe even trendsetters. Your cat friend stirs, giving you a nudge like it's time to move on. You're ready to see what else these feline fashion icons have in store. But for now, you're content to walk under the stars, the memory of that tinkling cat amulet still ringing in your ears. You're wandering through the village under a star-strewn sky, the memory of glittering cat jewelry still sparkling in your mind. Your cat friend, ever the loyal sidekick, pads alongside you, its tail flicking like it's plotting its next move. The night air is cool, carrying the scent of the Nile and the faint hum of crickets. You're thinking about heading back to Meredith's house for a nap when a sudden hiss stops you in your tracks. You freeze, heart pounding, and spot a sleek tabby not yours crouched low, eyes locked on something slithering in the shadows. A snake. Your stomach flips, but the cat doesn't flinch. Welcome to ancient Egypt's ultimate showdown. Cats versus snakes, where these furry warriors protect homes from creepy crawlies. Grab a seat, this is about to get wild. You back up, giving the tabby some space, and your cat friend hops onto a nearby wall, watching the scene like it's judging a gladiator match. The snake, a thin, dark shape with a faint zigzag pattern, glides toward a mud brick house, its tongue flicking. You're no expert, but it looks like bad news, maybe an Egyptian cobra, the kind that can ruin your day. The tabby moves like lightning, pouncing with claws out, and the snake rears back, hissing. You're gripping your tunic, half expecting a dramatic slow-motion battle, but it's over in seconds. The cat pins the snake, delivers a swift bite, and struts away, leaving the lifeless coil behind. You're stunned, and your cat friend gives you a look like amateur. You're still processing when a man rushes out of the house, his linen kilt askew like he just rolled out of bed. He spots the dead snake, then the tabby, now grooming itself like nothing happened. "Blessed be you, Myo," he says, scooping up the cat and stroking its ears. You're starting to get it, cats aren't just cute, they're the frontline defense against pests that threaten homes. You follow the man, whose name is Kansu, as he carries Myo back inside, muttering thanks to Bastet. Your cat friend trails you, clearly unimpressed by Myo's heroics but sticking around anyway. The house is similar to Meredith's mud brick walls, a packed earth floor, and a granary tucked in the back. You sit on a reed mat, accepting a clay cup of water from Kansu's wife, Nebit. The air smells of barley and dried herbs, and Myo is now sprawled across a cushion, looking smug. You notice two other cats in the room, a ginger one napping by the granary, and a black one stalking a beetle. Kansu explains that snakes are a constant worry, especially at night when they sneak into homes or fields. You're picturing that cobra slithering toward a sleeping family, and suddenly Myo's victory feels like a big deal. Here's the mainstream history fact. Cats were vital in ancient Egypt for controlling pests, particularly snakes and rodents, which threatened food supplies and safety. From the Old Kingdom, around 2600 BCE, cats were domesticated for their hunting skills, especially against venomous snakes like cobras and vipers that lurked near homes and granaries. You're watching the ginger cat now, its ears twitching as it guards the granary door. Nebit tells you they've lost no grain since the cats moved in, and no one has been bitten by a snake in years. You're impressed these cats are like tiny superheroes, keeping the household safe while looking effortlessly cool. You glance at Mio, who's licking its paw, and wonder if it knows it's a legend. You sip your water, the clay cup cool against your lips, and listen as Kansu tells you about a close call last year. A viper got into the house, hiding under a basket, but Mio's mother, another cat, long gone, took it down before it could strike. You're starting to see why cats are so revered here. They don't just catch mice, they face off against legit dangers. You notice Nebbit slipping Mio a scrap of fish, her face soft with gratitude. The cats aren't just workers, they're family, earning treats and cuddles for their bravery. You're tempted to pet Mio, but it gives you a stare that says, "Earn it first." Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Some Egyptians believed cats could sense snakes before humans could, almost like a sixth sense. You're skeptical, but Nebbit swears Mio starts pacing and yowling whenever a snake is nearby, even if it's hidden. Apparently, this belief led some families to train cats to patrol specific areas, using treats to encourage their snake hunting instincts. You're picturing Mio as a furry security guard, prowling the house with a mission. You glance at your cat friend, now batting at a stray reed, and wonder if it's got that snake dar. Probably not, it seems more interested in napping than heroics. Still, the idea of cats as early warning systems is pretty cool, and it makes you appreciate their spooky, silent grace. You're settling into the house now, the warmth of the family easing the adrenaline from that snake showdown. Kansu's son, a boy of about 12 named Imhotep, shows you a small clay cat figurine he carved, painted with black spots to look like Mio. He says it's for luck, to keep snakes away when Mio's not around. This brings us to something historians are still debating. How much of the cat's pest control role was practical versus symbolic? Some scholars argue cats were primarily valued for their hunting skills, with their sacred status as Bastet's animals coming later. Others say their snake-fighting prowess was seen as divine intervention, proof of Bastet's protection. You're watching the ginger cat pounce on another beetle, wondering if it's just doing its job or channeling a goddess. The truth is probably a mix, but try convincing academics to agree they rather debate hieroglyphs till dawn. You're starting to feel the night's weight, the excitement of the snake battle giving way to a cozy calm. Nebbit offers you a piece of honeyed bread, and you tear off a chunk, savoring the sweet stickiness. Imhotep is now playing with the black cat, dangling a piece of twine for it to chase. You laugh as the cat does a dramatic flip, landing with a thud that makes everyone chuckle. These moments make the cat's role feel so human, not just pest control, but joy, connection, life. You glance at your cat friend, who's claimed a corner of the mat and is watching you with half-closed eyes. You're tempted to ask it for snake hunting tips, but it's clearly off duty. You step outside, the village dark except for the glow of lamps in doorways. The Nile's gentle lapping mixes with the rustle of palm fronds, and you spot a cat silhouetted on a roof, its eyes glinting like stars. You're thinking about Mio's victory, the family's gratitude, and how cats are more than just hunters, they're guardians of the home in every sense. Your cat friend nudges your leg, ready to move on. You're not sure what's next, but you're ready to follow these feline warriors wherever they lead, snake or no snake. You're standing outside Kansu's house, the night air crisp and the village hushed except for the occasional bleat of a goat. Your cat friend, fresh off its self-appointed nap, stretches dramatically and gives you a look that says, "What's next? Human?" The memory of Mio's epic snake takedown is still fresh, and you're marveling at how cats are basically superheroes here. You're about to head back toward the Nile, maybe find a spot to stargaze, when you hear a commotion, raised voices, the clatter of a dropped pot. You follow the noise, your cat trotting ahead like it's ready to investigate. You turn a corner and stumble into a scene that's equal parts drama and ancient Egyptian soap opera. Someone's in trouble for messing with a cat. Buckle up, you're about to discover the strict laws protecting Egypt's sacred felines. And trust me, these laws don't mess around. The commotion is coming from a small courtyard near the village market, now deserted except for a handful of onlookers. A man, his linen kilt torn and his face flushed, is being held by two burly villagers. In front of them stands a woman, her arms crossed, pointing at a gray cat limping near a broken water jar. Your cat friend hops onto a low wall, watching the scene like it's judging everyone involved. You edge closer, trying to blend in, and catch the woman's words. He kicked Ta, my Ta. The man, who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else, mumbles something about it being an accident. You're not sure what's going on, but the crowd's murmurs and the cat's pitiful meow tell you this is serious. Welcome to ancient Egypt, where harming a cat is basically a capital offense. A third figure steps forward, an older man with a shaved head and a linen robe that screams official. He's probably a local magistrate or priest, and his expression is stern enough to make you check your own cat-related behavior. The woman, whose name you catch as Iset, explains that the man, let us call him Hapuzneb, kicked her cat, Ta, after it stole a fish from his stall. You glance at Ta, who's now licking its paw with an Oscar-worthy performance of victimhood. Your cat friend gives a tiny huff like it's siding with Ta but thinks the drama is a bit much. The magistrate raises a hand, silencing the crowd, and starts questioning Hapuzneb, who's sweating buckets. You're starting to realize this isn't just a neighborly spat. There are actual laws at play here, and they're no joke. Here's the mainstream history fact. Ancient Egypt had strict laws protecting cats, especially during the late period, around 664 BCE, when their sacred status peaked. Cats were seen as embodiments of Bastet, and harming one intentionally or not could lead to severe punishments, from fines to public humiliation to, in extreme cases, death. You're watching the magistrate now as he inspects Ta, gently lifting its paw to check for injury. Iset insists the cat's limping worse than usual, while Hapuzneb swears it was just a nudge. The crowd is whispering, and you hear someone mutter about a similar case last year, where a man paid a hefty fine in grain for swatting a cat. You're impressed by the seriousness. Imagine getting fined for shooing a cat off your couch. You glance at your cat friend, who's grooming itself like it knows it's untouchable. You're trying to stay inconspicuous, but Iset spots you and pulls you into the mess, assuming you're a witness. You saw it, didn't you? She demands, pointing at Hapuzneb. You stammer, not wanting to pick a side, but the magistrate waves you off, focusing on Ta's injury. The cat, sensing its moment, limps dramatically toward Iset, milking the sympathy for all it's worth. You're stifling a laugh. This cat's a better actor than half the people here. But the mood is tense, and you're starting to see how deeply these laws run. It's not just about one cat, it's about respect for Bastet, for order, for the divine balance Egyptians hold dear. Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Did you know some cat-related laws extended to foreigners? You're surprised, but apparently, during Egypt's later periods, visitors from places like Greece or Persia could face punishment for harming cats, even if they didn't know the rules. You're picturing a clueless trader, fresh off a boat, shooing a cat and suddenly facing a mob of angry villagers. The Greek historian Herodotus wrote about this, describing how Egyptians would mourn a dead cat more than a human in some cases. You glance at Ta, now curled up in Iset's arms, and wonder if it knows it's got diplomatic immunity. Your cat friend, meanwhile, is watching the magistrate like it's taking notes for its own future lawsuit. The magistrate's questioning drags on, and you're getting a front row seat to ancient Egyptian justice. Hapusneb admits he was frustrated the cat stole his best fish, and he pushed it with his foot. Iset interrupts, saying Ta's been off since the incident, and the crowd murmurs in support. You're starting to feel bad for Hapusneb, who looks like he's regretting every life choice. This brings us to something historians are still debating. Were these cat protection laws about religion or social control? Some scholars argue they were purely devotional, meant to honor Bastet and maintain spiritual harmony. Others say they were a way to reinforce cultural identity, especially when Egypt faced foreign influence, making cats a symbol of Egyptianness. You're watching the magistrate, who's now consulting a papyrus scroll, and wondering if he's upholding divine law or just keeping the village in line. Probably both, but good luck getting academics to stop arguing over it. They'd rather decode another steal. The magistrate finally speaks, his voice calm but firm. Hapusneb is to pay Iset a fine 2 sacks of barley and publicly apologize to Ta. The crowd nods, satisfied, and Iset clutches Ta like it's her firstborn. Hapusneb looks relieved, probably because it could have been worse. You hear a whisper about a man in a nearby town who was flogged for killing a cat, though you're not sure if it's true or just village gossip. The magistrate dismisses everyone, and the crowd disperses, leaving you, your cat friend, and a very smug Ta in the courtyard. You're tempted to applaud the cat's performance, but you don't want to risk a fine yourself. You sit on the wall beside your cat friend, the night air settling around you. The village is quiet again, the drama over, but you're still buzzing from what you saw. You notice a young boy, maybe 9, tossing a pebble and watching Ta, who's now prancing like nothing happened. The boy giggles, and you smile. Cats are clearly the real rulers here, laws or no laws. You're starting to get why these rules existed, not just for Bastet, but for the way cats weave into every part of life, from homes to temples to markets. Your cat friend nudges your hand, demanding a scratch, and you oblige, feeling a little like you're paying tribute to a tiny god. You stand, brushing dust off your tunic, and glance at the stars, bright and endless above the Nile. The village feels different now, like you've seen its heartbeat. You're ready to keep exploring, to see what else these sacred cats have in store. Your cat friend leaps down, leading the way, and you follow, wondering if you'll ever look at a cat the same way again. You're still lingering in the village courtyard, the drama of Ta's courtroom victory fading into the night. Your cat friend, perched on the wall like it's ready to write a memoir about its day, gives you a slow blink, as if to say, "That was fun, but let us move on." The Nile's gentle lapping mixes with the soft glow of oil lamps from nearby houses, and you're thinking about finding a place to crash when you notice a faint flicker of light from a larger building across the village. It's not a temple or a home, more like a workshop, with voices and laughter spilling out. Curiosity pulls you forward, and your cat friend leaps down, leading the way like it's got an art gallery invite. Tonight, you're diving into the world of ancient Egyptian art, where cats aren't just pets, they're muses, immortalized in paint and plaster. You follow the path, your sandals crunching on the sandy earth, and reach the workshop. Its mud brick walls are plain, but the open doorway reveals a warm, bustling space lit by dozens of oil lamps. Inside, men and women are hunched over tables, grinding pigments or sketching on papyrus. The air smells of ochre, charcoal, and something faintly sweet, maybe honey used to bind paints. Your cat friend slips inside, weaving between legs like it owns the place, and you follow, trying not to look like a tourist. A woman with paint-stained fingers spots you and waves you over, her smile wide. "Come see," she says, gesturing to a half-finished wall panel. You step closer, and there it is, a vibrant painting of a cat, its golden fur gleaming, eyes sharp as it stalks a bird. You're hooked. This is where cats become art. The workshop is alive with activity. Artists mix red hematite and blue frit on stone palettes, while others etch outlines onto plaster. You're standing by the woman, whose name is Starlit, as she adds green malachite to the cat's eyes, making them pop against the wall. The painting is part of a larger scene. Reads, birds, a river, but the cat steals the show. Its posture so lifelike you half expect it to leap off the plaster. Your cat friend, meanwhile, has claimed a pile of papyrus scraps and is batting at a stray brush, earning a chuckle from Starlit. You're starting to see why cats are everywhere in this art. They're not just animals, they're symbols of grace, power, and a little bit of mischief. Hear us the mainstream history fact. Cats were a common motif in ancient Egyptian art, especially from the New Kingdom onward, around 1550 BCE, when their association with Bastet grew strong. You're watching Starlit now as she points out other pieces: a tomb painting of a cat lounging under a chair, a papyrus sketch of a cat chasing a mouse. These images appeared in tombs, homes, and temples, often symbolizing protection, domestic harmony, or Bastet's presence. The cat in Starlit's painting, she explains, is for a noble's villa, meant to bring luck to the household. You're struck by the detail: the cat's whiskers, the curve of its tail, the way its eyes seem to follow you. Artists didn't just draw cats, they captured their essence, making them eternal in paint and stone. You glance at your cat friend, wondering if it's secretly posing for its own masterpiece. You wander through the workshop, careful not to bump any tables piled with pigments or clay jars. The artists are a mix of ages, from apprentices barely out of childhood to grizzled veterans with paint in their beards. You notice a young man sketching a cat on a potsherd, its body arched in a playful leap. He catches your eye and grins. "For my sister," he says. "She loves them." You nod, charmed by how personal this art feels, not just for pharaohs or priests, but for families, for love. You're starting to see cats as more than symbols, they're part of the heart of this place, woven into every brushstroke. Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Some cat paintings were believed to have magical properties. You're skeptical, but Starlit tells you about a tradition where tomb paintings of cats were thought to protect the deceased in the afterlife, warding off evil spirits or guiding souls to safety. She points to a small sketch of a cat with an ankh, the symbol of life, around its neck, meant for a merchant's tomb. You're picturing this cat, painted in vibrant reds and blues, standing guard in the underworld like a furry bouncer. It's a wild idea, but it fits the Egyptian vibe. Cats aren't just pretty, they're powerful. Your cat friend, now napping on the papyrus pile, looks about as magical as a dust bunny, but you're willing to believe it's hiding some afterlife skills. You're getting lost in the colors and shapes when Starlit invites you to try painting. She hands you a brush and a scrap of plaster, pointing to a bowl of yellow ochre. You're nervous, your art skills are more stick figure than tomb-worthy, but you give it a go, sketching a wobbly cat that looks like it's had too much barley beer. Starlit laughs, not unkindly, and shows you how to smooth the lines. This brings us to something historians are still debating. Were cat images in art primarily decorative or deeply symbolic? Some scholars argue they were aesthetic, adding beauty and status to homes and tombs. Others say every cat painting carried spiritual weight, tied to Bastet or protection rituals. You're holding your sad cat sketch, wondering if it's art or just a vibe. Probably both, but try telling that to academics. They rather argue over pigment recipes than admit it's a mix. You step back, letting Tart return to her work, and watch the workshop hum. An apprentice spills blue frit, earning a playful scolding, while an older artist hums a tune that sounds oddly modern. Your cat friend stirs, giving you a look like it's time to move on, but you're not ready to leave. You notice a finished panel leaning against a wall, a scene of a family feasting, with a cat curled under the table, its eyes glinting like it's in on the party. You're smiling now, the image so warm it feels like a memory. Cats aren't just art subjects, they're storytellers, capturing the soul of this world in every stroke. You slip outside, the night air sharp after the workshop's warmth. The village is asleep, the stars bright above the Nile. Your cat friend leads the way, its tail high like a flag. You're thinking about the paintings, the care and craft behind them, and how cats have become more than muses, they're icons, etched into Egypt's story. You're ready to see what's next, but for now, you're content to walk under the stars, the image of that golden cat still vivid in your mind. You're walking through the village under a sky heavy with stars, the afterglow of those vibrant cat paintings still dancing in your mind. Your cat friend, ever the nocturnal navigator, struts ahead, its tail swaying like it's conducting an invisible orchestra. The Nile's soft murmurs blend with the rustle of palm fronds, and you're thinking about finding a quiet spot to rest when you notice a procession moving silently through the village. Flickering torchlight reveals a small group, men and women, their faces solemn, carrying something wrapped in linen. Your cat friend pauses, ears twitching, and you catch a glimpse of a tiny, cat-shaped bundle in the torchlight. Your heart sinks. This isn't just any gathering, it's a funeral, and not for a human. You're about to witness a cat burial ceremony, and it's going to be as heartfelt as it is strange. You fall in step at the edge of the procession, keeping your distance to avoid intruding. Your cat friend sticks close, unusually subdued, as if it senses the mood. The group moves toward a low hill beyond the village, where the desert stretches out under the moonlight. The air is cool, smelling of dry earth and the faint smoke of torches. You notice a woman at the front, her shoulders hunched, clutching a small clay amulet shaped like a cat. She's leading the group, her steps slow but deliberate. You're not sure who she is, maybe the cat's owner, maybe a priestess, but her grief is palpable, and it pulls you along, curious and respectful. The procession reaches a small necropolis, not the grand tombs of pharaohs, but a humbler place, with shallow pits and modest markers. You spot dozens of tiny graves, some adorned with cat statues or faience beads, glinting in the torchlight. The group stops at an open pit, lined with clean sand, and the woman kneels, placing the linen-wrapped bundle inside. Your cat friend sits nearby, watching with an intensity that makes you wonder if it's paying its respects. You're struck by the care of it all, the torchlight, the silence, the way everyone moves like this matters. This isn't just a burial, it's a rite, as sacred as any human funeral. Here's the mainstream history fact. In ancient Egypt, cat burials were a significant ritual, especially during the late period, around 664 BCE, when devotion to Bastet was at its height. Cats were often buried with ceremony, either in dedicated cemeteries or alongside their owners, to honor their sacred status and ensure their journey to the afterlife. You're watching now as a man, probably a priest, scatters natron over the bundle, his voice low as he chants a prayer to Bastet. The linen is adorned with a tiny ankh amulet, and the pit is filled with offerings: fish, milk, a small clay cat figurine. You're impressed by the effort, the way this cat is being sent off like a beloved family member. Archaeologists have found thousands of cat burials, some with mummified remains so well preserved you can still see their fur. You glance at your cat friend, hoping it's got a long life ahead. No linen wraps for this one yet. The woman, whose name you overhear as Nefret, stands and speaks softly, her voice breaking. She talks about her cat, named Sekhet, who slept by her side and chased mice from her granary. You're touched by the simplicity of it. Sekhet wasn't a temple guardian or a royal pet, just a companion. Yet here she is, mourned like royalty. The others in the group add their own words, sharing stories of Sekhet's antics, like the time she stole a whole fish from a neighbor's basket. You're smiling through the sadness, picturing this cat ruling the household with a flick of its tail. The priest lights a small bundle of herbs, the smoke curling upward, and you feel the weight of the moment, like you're part of something ancient and unbroken. Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Some cat burials included grave goods meant for the cat's afterlife, like tiny bowls or toys. You're surprised, but as you watch, Nefret places a small reed ball in the pit, the kind Sekhet loved to chase. Apparently, Egyptians believed cats deserved comfort in the next world, so they debury them with items they enjoyed in life: fish, cushions, even miniature collars. You're picturing Sekhet batting that reed ball through the fields of the afterlife, and it's oddly heartwarming. You glance at your cat friend, wondering what it would want in its grave: probably a lifetime supply of fish and a sunny wall to nap on. The idea of a cat with its own grave goods is peak ancient Egypt, and you're here for it. The ceremony continues, the priest sprinkling sand over the pit with a slow, deliberate hand. You notice the others in the group, neighbors, friends, maybe family, each adding a handful of sand, their movements gentle, almost tender. This brings us to something historians are still debating. Were cat burials primarily religious or emotional? Some scholars argue they were ritualistic, a way to honor Bastet and maintain cosmic order. Others say they were deeply personal, reflecting the bond between people and their pets. You're watching Nefret, her eyes glistening as she smooths the sand, and it feels like both faith and love intertwined. The truth is probably a mix, but good luck getting academics to agree. They'd rather excavate another cat cemetery than settle the question. You're standing at the edge of the pit now, the torchlight casting long shadows across the desert. The group is quieter, the chants giving way to a soft hum, like a lullaby for Sekhet. You notice a child, maybe 7, clinging to Nefret's hand, her face streaked with tears. She whispers something about Sekhet catching stars now, and you feel a lump in your throat. Your cat friend nudges your leg, its warmth grounding you in the moment. You're struck by how universal this feels: grief, memory, the need to say goodbye. Cats aren't just sacred here, they're part of the human story, woven into moments like this. The priest signals the end of the ceremony, and the group begins to disperse, their torches bobbing like fireflies as they head back to the village. Nefret lingers, placing a final offering, a turquoise bead at the grave's edge. You want to say something, offer comfort, but you stay silent, respecting her space. Your cat friend, sensing the shift, starts trotting back toward the village, and you follow, the necropolis fading into the darkness. The stars are brighter now, the air heavy with the weight of what you've seen. You're thinking about Sekhet, about Nefert's love, about how cats leave paw prints on hearts as much as granaries. You're ready for whatever comes next, but for now, you let the night carry you forward, your cat friend leading the way. You're walking back from the cat necropolis, the solemn burial of Sekhet still tugging at your heart. The village is quiet under the starlit sky, the Nile's gentle ripples a soft backdrop to your thoughts. Your cat friend, ever the faithful guide, trots ahead, its tail high like it's ready to pivot from funeral vibes to something livelier. You're thinking about Nefert's grief, the care poured into that tiny grave, when you catch the faint glow of torches and the hum of voices from the riverbank. The market may be asleep, but the Nile never rests. You follow the light, your cat weaving through the reeds, and stumble into a bustling scene of boats, traders, and yep cats. Tonight, you're diving into how these furry overlords shaped ancient Egyptian trade, and trust me, it's a wilder ride than you'd expect. You reach the riverbank, where a wooden dock juts into the Nile, lit by flickering torches. Boats of all sizes reed skiffs, sturdy cargo vessels are moored, their crews unloading baskets of grain, linen, and pottery. The air smells of fish, wet papyrus, and something spicy, maybe cumin from a far-off land. Your cat friend hops onto a crate, surveying the chaos like it's the CEO of this operation. You notice a trader, his kilt stained with river mud, arguing with a dock worker over a basket of dried fish. Nearby, a sleek black cat is perched on another crate, eyeing the fish like it's planning a heist. You smirk. This isn't just a trade hub, it's a cat's paradise. You wander closer, dodging a sailor hauling a sack of barley. The trader, whose name you catch as Senenmut, finally settles the argument and turns to you, wiping sweat from his brow. He notices your cat friend and grins. "Good luck, that one," he says, nodding at the cat. You're curious, so you ask what he means, and he launches into a story about how cats are the unsung heroes of his trade voyages. You're hooked, ready to see how these feline merchants, or at least their influence, keep the Nile's commerce flowing. Here's the mainstream history fact. Cats indirectly influenced ancient Egyptian trade by protecting goods, especially grain, which was a cornerstone of the economy from the Old Kingdom onward, around 2600 BCE. Egypt's surplus grain was traded across the Mediterranean and Red Sea, reaching places like Punt and the Levant. You're watching Senenmut now as he checks a cargo boat piled with grain sacks, a tabby cat prowling the deck like a security guard. Cats kept rodents away from stored goods, ensuring more grain survived the journey to trade partners. Senenmut tells you a single rat-infested boat could ruin a season's profits, but with cats on board, losses are rare. You're impressed. These cats aren't just cute, they're economic MVPs. You glance at your cat friend, wondering if it's secretly crunching numbers in its head. You sit on a reed mat by the dock, the Nile's cool breeze cutting through the night's warmth. Senenmut offers you a clay cup of watered wine, and you sip it, listening to the creak of boats and the chatter of traders. You notice cats everywhere, lounging on crates, darting between baskets, even napping in the shadow of a sail. Senenmut explains that traders often bring cats on voyages, not just for protection but for luck. A cat choosing to board your boat? That's Bastet's blessing, a guarantee of safe travels. You're starting to see how cats are woven into the trade network, from village granaries to distant ports. You're tempted to ask if your cat friend wants a job, but it's too busy inspecting a fish basket. Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Some traders used cat imagery to market their goods. You're skeptical, but Senenmut shows you a small clay jar, sealed with a cat-shaped stopper, meant for exporting honey. Apparently, cat motifs on jars, amulets, or even boat carvings signaled quality and divine protection, appealing to buyers who revered Bastet. You're picturing a trader in a foreign port, waving a cat-stamped jar like it's the premium brand. It's ancient marketing genius, and you're low-key impressed. You glance at your cat friend, now batting at a loose reed, and wonder if it's ready to be a brand ambassador. Probably not, it's more the eat the profits type. You're getting lost in the Doc's rhythm when Senimut starts talking about a recent trip to Byblos, trading grain for cedar wood. He points to the black cat, named Newt, who's still eyeing the fish basket. She caught a rat mid-voyage, he says, saved half the cargo. You nod, picturing Newt as the hero of the high seas. This brings us to something historians are still debating. How much did cats directly shape trade versus simply benefiting from it? Some scholars argue cats were critical, preserving goods that fueled Egypt's trade dominance. Others say their role was overstated, with human ingenuity like better storage doing the heavy lifting, and cats just along for the ride. You're watching Newt now, her eyes glinting in the torchlight, and thinking it's probably both. But try telling that to academics, they'd rather sail the Nile than agree. You're starting to feel the night's energy, the dock alive with deals and laughter. A young boy, maybe 10, is tossing fish scraps to a group of cats, who swarm him like he's a celebrity chef. You laugh, the scene so joyful it cuts through the trade talk. Senimut notices and tosses you a dried date, which you catch barely. You chew it, savoring the sticky sweetness, and watch a trader sketch a cat on a papyrus ledger, maybe for luck or just because he is obsessed. Cats aren't just protecting goods here, they're part of the culture, the story, the deal-closing vibe. You're tempted to barter for that cat-stamped honey jar, but your cat friend gives you a look like, "Don't blow our budget." You wander along the dock, the Nile's dark water reflecting the torches. A woman is loading faience beads onto a skiff, a cat curled in her lap. She catches your eye and smiles, stroking the cat's ears. "Keeps the rats away," she says, "and the spirits." You nod, charmed by how cats blur the line between practical and magical. The night is winding down, but the river hums with possibility boats heading to distant lands, carrying grain, linen, and the silent protection of cats. Your cat friend leaps down, nudging you to keep moving. You're ready to see what's next, but for now, you're content to linger by the Nile, the pulse of trade and feline power thrumming around you. You're still by the Nile's edge, the torchlit bustle of the trade dock fading as the night deepens. Your cat friend, ever the self-appointed tour guide, is sprawled on a crate, giving you a look that says, "I'm ready for something fancy." The river's cool breeze carries the scent of reeds and fish, but you're itching to leave the gritty commerce behind for something grander. As you wander back toward the village, you overhear a trader mention a royal procession passing nearby tomorrow, headed for a palace upriver. Your ears perk up. Royalty? And where there's royalty, there's bound to be cats, because even pharaohs can't resist a fluffy overlord. You nudge your cat friend, who stretches like it's south been summoned to court, and set off to catch a glimpse of Egypt's elite and their feline companions. Spoiler, it's as extra as you'd expect. You follow the trader's directions, trekking along a palm-lined path that hugs the Nile. The stars are bright, guiding you toward a larger town where the royal entourage is said to be resting. Your cat friend trots ahead, dodging moonlit puddles like it's on a mission. By dawn, you reach the town, its mud-brick houses dwarfed by a sprawling estate, limestone walls, lotus-carved gates, the works. Guards in linen kilts stand at attention, but the crowd of onlookers, buzzing with excitement, makes it easy to blend in. You spot a golden litter, draped with blue linen, being carried toward the estate. Your cat friend hops onto a low wall, giving you both a prime view. You're about to meet pharaohs who cherish their cats, and it's going to be a royal party. You squeeze closer, the crowd's chatter filling the air with tales of the pharaoh's wealth and power. The litter stops and a figure steps out, a young man, maybe in his 20s, his kilt gleaming with gold thread, a broad collar necklace flashing in the morning sun. You're pretty sure he is a prince, maybe even a pharaoh's heir, given the fan-waving attendants trailing him. But what catches your eye is the sleek black cat cradled in his arms, its golden collar studded with lapis lazuli. The cat, unfazed by the crowd, yawns dramatically, and you stifle a laugh. Your cat friend, perched on the wall, gives a tiny huff, like it's jealous of the bling but too proud to admit it. The prince, let us call him Amenhotep, after the famous dynasty, strokes the cat's ears, whispering something that makes it purr. You're struck by how normal this feels, like he's just a guy with his pet, except his pet's wearing jewelry worth more than the village. You overhear an attendant mention the cat's name, Tamyo, meaning lady cat. You're charmed, but also a little intimidated. Tamyo looks like she could have you banished with one glare. You're starting to see that cats aren't just for farmers or traders, they're royal companions, pampered by the elite in ways that make your head spin. Here's the mainstream history fact: pharaohs and their families often kept cats as cherished pets, a practice well documented from the Middle Kingdom onward, around 2000 BCE. Cats were symbols of divine protection, linked to Bastet, and their presence in royal households added prestige and spiritual favor. You're watching Amenhotep now as he sets Tamyo on a cushioned stool, where she promptly starts grooming like she is prepping for a royal portrait. Archaeological finds, like tomb reliefs and inscriptions, show cats lounging in palaces or buried with honors alongside their owners. One famous example is Prince Thutmose's cat, also named Tamyo, whose sarcophagus was crafted with the care of a noble S. You're picturing this black cat ruling the palace, and it's honestly goals. You glance at your cat friend, wondering if it's got royal ambitions. Probably it's got the attitude for it. You edge closer, trying to stay inconspicuous, but the crowd's energy is infectious. Women wave palm fronds, and children toss lotus petals, hoping for a glimpse of the prince. You notice another cat, a ginger one, sprawled on a nearby litter, its collar woven with gold thread. An attendant, a woman with coal-lined eyes, is feeding it bits of roasted duck. You're low-key jealous your cat friend's diet is more stray fish scraps than gourmet poultry. The ginger cat, named Nebmyo or Lord Cat, according to the attendant, belongs to the prince's sister. You're starting to get the vibe. In this family, cats are practically royalty, with names and bling to match. Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Some royal cats were given ceremonial roles in palace rituals. You're skeptical, but the attendant tells you about a tradition where cats like Tamyo would inspect offerings before they were presented to the gods, their presence ensuring the gifts were pure. You're picturing Tamyo strutting past a pile of bread and fish, giving a regal sniff like a food critic. It's unclear how official this was. Maybe the cats just wandered in and got treats, but the idea of a cat as a divine quality control officer is peak ancient Egypt. You glance at your cat friend, now batting at a stray petal, and wonder if it's ready for a promotion. Probably not. It's more the nap through the ceremony type. You're soaking in the scene when the prince moves toward the estate's entrance, Tamyo still in his arms. The crowd parts, and you catch a glimpse of the palace garden's date palms, lotus ponds, and more cats lounging on stone benches. You're tempted to sneak in, but a guard astern look stops you cold. This brings us to something historians are still debating. Were royal cats primarily status symbols or genuine companions? Some scholars argue they were props, kept to flaunt wealth and divine favor, their collars and burials more about prestige than affection. Others say the bond was real, pointing to inscriptions describing pharaohs mourning their cats. You're watching Amenhotep nuzzle Tamyo's head, his smile soft, and leaning toward the companion's side. But good luck getting academics to agree they'd rather polish a sphinx than settle it. You find a spot to sit, a low stone bench near the crowd's edge, and your cat friend hops up beside you, purring like it's claiming the throne. The procession is winding down, the prince disappearing into the estate with his entourage. You notice a young girl, maybe 8, sketching a cat in the dust with a stick, her lines mimicking Tamyo's sleek form. You smile, charmed by how cats inspire everyone, from pharaohs to kids. The attendant from earlier passes by, tossing you a dried fig, which you catch mostly. You chew it, savoring the sweet crunch, and watch the crowd disperse, their chatter fading into the morning air. You're starting to feel the dais weight, the excitement of royal glitz giving way to a warm calm. The Nile sparkles under the rising sun, and you spot a cat, maybe one of the palace-s, perched on a dock, watching the water like it's planning a coup. You're thinking about Tamyo, Nebmyo, and the way cats bridge the gap between divine and human, even for pharaohs. Your cat friend nudges your hand, demanding a scratch, and you oblige, feeling a little like you're serving a tiny king. You're ready to keep exploring, but for now, you're content to linger by the estate, the echo of royal purrs still in your ears. You're still lingering near the royal estate, the morning sun climbing higher and casting golden ripples across the Nile. Your cat friend, sprawled on the stone bench like it's auditioning for a pharaoh's lap, gives you a lazy blink, as if to say, royal cats are cool, but I'm the real star. The buzz of the princess procession has faded, and the town is settling into its daily rhythm, vendors hawking bread, children chasing geese, and cats, of course, lounging everywhere. You're about to head back to the village when you notice an elderly woman sitting under a sycamore tree, her fingers weaving a reed basket, her eyes sharp despite her age. A small crowd of kids is gathered around her, and you catch the word cat in her low, melodic voice. Your cat friend's ears twitch, and you know you're not going anywhere. Tonight, you're diving into ancient Egyptian folklore, where cats aren't just pets, they're magical heroes of whispered tales. You settle on the grass near the woman, whose name you learn is Kemet, a storyteller known in the town for her tales. Your cat friend curls up beside you, pretending to nap but clearly eavesdropping. The kids are wide-eyed, munching on dates, as Kemet begins a story about a cat named Nefer, who saved a village from a demon snake. The air smells of dust and sweet fruit, and the Nile's gentle hum blends with Kemet's voice, pulling you into a world where cats are more than they seem. You're ready for some magical stories, and trust me, these are wilder than a cat chasing a laser pointer. Kemet's tale unfolds like a dream. She describes Nefer, a golden cat with eyes like emeralds, who lived in a village plagued by a serpent that stole children's shadows. You're picturing this snake, all hissy and dramatic, when Kemet says Nefer, guided by Bastet's light, lured the serpent into a trap, a pit lined with sacred herbs, and banished it to the underworld. The kids gasp, and you're secretly rooting for Nefer, even if it's just a story. Kemet's hands move as she speaks, mimicking the cat's silent pause, and you're struck by how vivid this feels, like you're watching it happen. Your cat friend, meanwhile, flicks its tail like it's saying, I could totally take a demon snake. You lean closer, the grass cool under your palms, as Kemet starts another tale. This one's about a cat named Myo-Ankh, who could speak to the stars. A farmer, lost in the desert, was saved when Myo-Ankh's starry whispers led him to an oasis. You're skeptical talking cats? But the kids are eating it up, and Kemet's voice makes it feel possible. You glance at your cat friend, wondering if it's got cosmic connections. It yawns unimpressed, but you're starting to see why these stories matter. Cats aren't just pest controllers or royal pets, they're legends, woven into the fabric of Egyptian imagination. Here's the mainstream history fact. Cats were central to ancient Egyptian folklore, especially from the New Kingdom onward, around 1550 BCE, when their link to Bastet made them symbols of divine protection and magic. You're listening to Kemet now as she describes how cats in stories often represented order against chaos, a core Egyptian value. Tales like Nefer's snake battle or Myo-Ankh's starry guidance were told to teach lessons: courage, trust, the power of the gods. Archaeologists have found papyrus fragments and tomb inscriptions hinting at these stories, often paired with images of cats as guardians or guides. You're picturing a scribe jotting down Nefer's tale, the ink still wet, and it's pretty cool to think these stories survived centuries. Your cat friend, now batting at a stray leaf, looks like it could star in its own epic, maybe the quest for the perfect nap. Kemet pauses to sip water from a clay cup, and the kids beg for another story. She smiles, her eyes crinkling, and launches into a tale about a cat named Sekhmet's Shadow, who stole a cursed jewel from a sorcerer's tomb to save her human family. The cat, black as midnight, could walk through walls, a gift from Bastet herself. You're grinning now, loving the drama, even if the kids' gasps are a bit much. You notice a girl, maybe 6, clutching a tiny cat amulet, her face lit with wonder. These stories aren't just entertainment, they're hope, magic, a way to make sense of a world full of snakes and sorcerers. You're tempted to ask Kemet for a tale about your cat friend, but it's too busy pretending to be aloof. Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Some cat folklore included rituals to borrow their magic. You're surprised, but Kemet mentions that villagers would sometimes place a cat's whisker fallen naturally, of course under their pillow, to dream of the future, believing the cat's connection to Bastet gave it prophetic powers. You're picturing a farmer tucking a whisker under his head, hoping for a vision of next year's harvest. It's a quirky tradition, and you're not sure how many believed it, but it adds to the cat's mystical aura. You glance at your cat friend, wondering if its whiskers are hiding secrets. Probably not, it's more likely to dream of fish than destiny. Kemet's stories keep flowing, each one wilder than the last. You're lost in a tale about a cat who tricked a jackal god when she stops, noticing the sun's climb. The kids groan, but she promises more tomorrow. This brings us to something historians are still debating. Were cat folktales purely cultural or tied to religious propaganda? Some scholars argue they were entertainment, reflecting Egypt's love for cats and storytelling. Others say priests spread these tales to boost Bastet's cult, reinforcing her power and, by extension, the religious hierarchy. You're watching Kemet pack up her basket, her face calm, and thinking it's probably both fun and faith, mixed like paint on a palette. But try convincing academics they'd rather decipher another myth than agree. You stand, brushing grass off your tunic, and thank Kemet, who nods like she's used to starry-eyed listeners. The kids scatter, chasing each other through the trees, and you're left with the echo of her stories. Your cat friend stretches, giving you a look like it's ready to star in its own legend. You notice a man nearby, carving a small cat figure from wood, maybe inspired by Kemet's tales. You smile, the moment grounding you in this world of magic and fur. The Nile glitters under the midday sun, and you're thinking about Nefer, Myo-Ankh, and all the cats who become more than animals, they're heroes, etched into stories that outlast time. Your cat friend nudges you, ready to move on, and you're eager to see what's next. But for now, you linger under the sycamore, the magic of folklore still humming in your ears. You're still under the sycamore tree, the echo of Kemet's magical cat tales lingering like a warm breeze. Your cat friend, now lounging on the grass like it's just starred in its own folk epic, gives you a smug blink, as if to say, I'm basically a legend now. The midday sun glints off the Nile, and the town hums with life, potters spinning clay, kids chasing a stray goose, and cats, naturally, ruling every corner. You're about to head back to the village, maybe grab some of Merida's honeyed bread, when you spot a group of strangers stepping off a reed boat at the nearby dock. Their clothes tunics with strange patterns, one guy in a weird hat are nothing like the local linen kilts. Foreigners. Your cat friend's ears twitch, and you know you're not going anywhere. Today, you're diving into how outsiders reacted to Egypt's cat obsession, and trust me, it's a mix of awe, confusion, and some serious side-eye. You wander toward the dock, blending into the crowd of curious onlookers. Your cat friend trots ahead, weaving through legs like it's scoping out the newbies. The foreigners a mix of traders, maybe from the Levant or Crete, judging by their bronze jewelry and olive-toned skin, are unloading baskets of cedar wood and purple-dyed cloth. One of them, a tall man with a beard that could double as a bird's nest, is arguing with a local dock worker, gesturing wildly at a crate. You inch closer, catching snippets of their language, a mix of unfamiliar words and broken Egyptian. Then you see it. A local cat, a sleek tabby, leaps onto the crate, sniffing the goods. The bearded man freezes, his eyes wide, like he has just seen a ghost. Your cat friend hops onto a nearby barrel, watching the scene like it's about to sell popcorn. The dock worker, a wiry guy named Anpu, laughs and waves off the man's panic. Sacred, this one, he says, stroking the tabby's back. The foreigner, let us call him Zenas, looks baffled, muttering something to his crew. You're close enough to see his confusion turn to curiosity as Anpu explains, in halting trade speak, that cats are protected by Bastet and harming one is bad news. Zenas nods slowly, but you can tell he's not buying it. You're grinning now, imagining him telling his buddies back home about Egypt's cat-worshipping weirdness. Your cat friend, meanwhile, gives the tabby a look like, show off. You find a spot to sit, a low stone bench by the dock, and watch the foreigners navigate this cat-filled world. Zenas and his crew are trying to unload their cargo, but cats are everywhere lounging on crates, darting between baskets, one even napping on a pile of dyed cloth. A woman from the crew, with braided hair and a silver armlet, yelps when a black cat brushes her leg, then laughs nervously when Anpu assures her it's good luck. You're starting to see how Egypt's cat obsession must look to outsiders. Part sacred, part surreal, like stepping into a world where your house pet is a demigod. Here's the mainstream history fact. Foreigners in ancient Egypt, especially from the late period onward, around 664 BCE, often remarked on the Egyptians' reverence for cats, as documented by travelers like the Greek historian Herodotus. You're watching Zenas now as he gingerly steps around the tabby, his crew following suit like they're avoiding landmines. Herodotus wrote that Egyptians would save cats from burning houses before their own belongings and mourn their deaths with shaved eyebrows. Stories that baffled Greeks and others used to more utilitarian views of animals. You're picturing Xenus scribbling his own travelogue, describing cats with more clout than his hometown elders. Your cat friend, sprawled on the barrel, looks like it's ready to sign autographs for these wide-eyed foreigners. You're sipping water from a clay cup Anpu handed you, the Nile's cool breeze cutting through the heat. The foreigners are settling in, bartering with locals for grain and faience beads. You notice Xenus watching a local woman offer a saucer of milk to a cat, her movements reverent. He whispers to his braided hair crewmate, who shakes her head, clearly thrown. You're charmed by their reactions, half respect, half what is this place. You overhear Anpu telling Xenus about a law. Harming a cat, even accidentally, could land you in hot water, foreigner or not. Xenus' beard practically bristles, and you're stifling a laugh, imagining him double-checking his steps to avoid feline felonies. Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Some foreigners adopted Egyptian cat customs to gain favor in trade deals. You're surprised, but Anpu mentions that savvy traders, especially from Phoenicia or Cyprus, would bring cat-shaped amulets or offer milk to local cats to show respect, hoping it de-sweeten their bargains. You're picturing Xenus, skeptical but pragmatic, tossing a fish to a dock cat to score a better grain price. It's a clever move, like learning a local handshake, and it shows how Egypt's cat craze influenced even outsiders. You glance at your cat friend, wondering if it's secretly negotiating trade deals. Probably not, it's more the steal the fish and run type. The dock is buzzing now, with locals and foreigners haggling over goods. You notice a young boy, maybe a foreigner's son, tossing a reed ball for a local cat to chase, his laughter bridging the language gap. This brings us to something historians are still debating. Did foreigners' accounts of Egypt's cat reverence exaggerate or reflect reality? Some scholars argue writers like Herodotus hyped up the cat worship to make Egypt seem exotic, boosting their own credibility. Others say the accounts were accurate, given the archaeological evidence of cat burials and laws. You're watching Xenus, now offering a cautious pat to the tabby, and leaning toward reality. Egypt's cat love is too in your face to be made up. But try telling that to academics. They rather debate ancient texts than admit it's both. You're starting to feel the day's rhythm, the dock alive with deals and chatter. A local woman offers you a dry date, which you chew, savoring the sticky sweetness. Your cat friend, bored of the barrel, hops down and starts stalking a stray beetle, earning a chuckle from the braided hair woman. You're struck by how cats are a universal language here, connecting people across cultures, even if the foreigners don't quite get it. You notice Xenus sketching a cat on a potsherd, maybe for his travelogue or just to process the weirdness. You smile, the moment grounding you in this strange, cat-filled world. You stand, brushing dust off your tunic, and glance at the Nile, its water shimmering under the sun. The foreigners are packing up, their boats ready for the next leg of their journey. Your cat friend nudges your leg, ready to move on, and you're eager to see what's next. For now, you linger by the dock, the memory of Xenus' baffled face and the tabby's smug strut still fresh. A reminder that Egypt's cats are a spectacle, even to the world beyond. You're standing by the Nile's edge, the dock's bustle fading as the sun dips low, painting the river in hues of amber and rose. Your cat friend, ever the faithful sidekick, is perched on a rock, its silhouette sharp against the twilight, giving you a look that says, "We've seen some things, haven tiwi." The foreigners' boats are gone. Their confusion over Egypt's cat obsession now just a memory. But you're not ready to leave this world yet. The air smells of wet reeds and cooling earth, and the village behind you hums with evening life lamps flickering, laughter spilling from doorways. You're thinking about everything you've witnessed. Sacred temples, mummified meows, royal pets, and magical tales. Now, it's time to step back and reflect on the bigger picture, how Egypt's cats left a legacy that stretched far beyond the Nile, paws and all. Settle in, because this is the grand finale, and it's got more heart than a cat napping in a sunbeam. You wander away from the dock, your cat friend trotting alongside, its tail flicking like it's ready to wrap up this adventure in style. You find a quiet spot under a palm tree, the fronds rustling softly overhead, and sit on the warm sand, the Nile's gentle lapping a soothing backdrop. You're starting to realize that Egypt's love for cats wasn't just a quirk, it was a cultural force, one that rippled across time and borders. From village homes to pharaohs' palaces, cats were more than animals, they were protectors, companions, and divine emissaries. But how did their story travel beyond this sandy kingdom? You're about to find out, and it's a tale as enduring as the pyramids themselves. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the sounds of the evening wash over you. You picture the cats you've met, Mio, Tamio, Sekit, and your own furry guide, now sniffing a stray leaf like it's a world-class artifact. Their ancestors, those sleek hunters who kept granaries safe and snakes at bay, didn't just stay in Egypt. As trade routes expanded, so did the cat's reputation. You imagine boats like the ones you saw, carrying grain and faience to distant lands, Greece, Rome, Mesopotamia, and with them, stories of Egypt's sacred felines. Your cat friend settles beside you, purring softly, and you're ready to trace the threads of their legacy, from ancient docks to the modern world. Here's the mainstream history fact. The domestic cat spread from Egypt had a lasting global impact, beginning around the first millennium BCE when trade and migration carried them across the Mediterranean and beyond. You're thinking about those foreign traders like Xenus, who gawked at Egypt's cat worship but took home more than just grain. Cats, valued for their pest control skills, hitched rides on ships, landing in places like Greece and Rome, where they became prized for the same reasons keeping rats out of food stores. By the Roman Empire, cats were common in Europe, and their Egyptian roots, tied to Bastet and divine protection, lingered in folklore. You're picturing a Roman villa, a tabby lounging on a mosaic floor, its ancestors once worshipped by the Nile. Your cat friend, now batting at a pebble, is part of that legacy, a descendant of Egypt's sacred felines, whether it knows it or not. You open your eyes, the sky now a deep indigo, stars blinking into view. The legacy isn't just about cats spreading physically, it's about the ideas they carried. You think back to Kemet's stories, cats as magical heroes, guardians of order. Those tales, or versions of them, traveled with traders and scribes, shaping how other cultures saw cats. In Greece, they were linked to Artemis, a goddess of the hunt. In Rome, to Libertas, a symbol of freedom. You're smiling now, imagining your cat friend as a tiny ambassador, spreading Egyptian vibes wherever it goes. But it's not just ancient history. You think of modern cats on your couch in internet videos, still ruling with that same smug grace. Egypt's love for them set the stage, making cats the world's favorite furry overlords. Now for our obscure trivia of the night. Did you know some ancient cultures outside Egypt adopted cat burial practices inspired by the Nile's traditions? You're surprised, but evidence from places like Cyprus and southern Italy shows cat graves, sometimes with offerings like fish or amulets, dating to the Hellenistic period. These weren't as elaborate as Egypt's mummified meows, but they suggest Egyptian influence, carried by traders or settlers who saw cats as more than pest controllers. You're picturing a Cypriot merchant, maybe someone Zenos met, burying a beloved cat with a tiny clay fish, a nod to Bastet's legacy. You glance at your cat friend, wondering if it'd appreciate a fancy grave. Probably it'd demand a gold-plated litter box, too. You're settling into the moment, the palm tree's shade cooling as the night deepens. The legacy feels personal now, like you're part of it just by sitting here, your cat friend's purrs vibrating against your leg. You think about the art, the jewelry, the laws, all those moments where cats shaped Egypt's soul. But their impact wasn't confined to temples or tombs. You imagine medieval Europe, where cats guarded grain and got tangled in superstitions, or ancient India, where they arrived via trade routes, their Egyptian mystique intact. Even today, cats carry that ancient charisma. Think of those viral videos, or the way your neighbor's tabby struts like it owns the block. Egypt gave the world a love for cats, and it's still purring strong. This brings us to something historians are still debating. How much of the cat's global spread was due to Egypt's cultural influence versus practical needs? Some scholars argue Egypt's reverence, spread through trade and stories, made cats desirable beyond their utility, giving them a sacred aura in other cultures. Others say it was all about function. Cats caught rats, so they spread naturally, with Egypt's mysticism just a fancy footnote. You're watching your cat friend, now chasing its own tail like it's solving a cosmic mystery, and thinking it's probably both. Cats are practical and magical, and Egypt knew it first. But try telling that to academics. They'd rather argue over a paw print in clay than admit it's a mix. You lean back, the sand soft under your palms, and let the Nile's rhythm sink in. Your journey has been a whirlwind: temples, markets, palaces, graves, but it's all led here, to this quiet moment of reflection. You think about Meret's family, feeding their cats fish Amenhotep, cradling Tamyo Nefert morning Sekhet. These cats weren't just animals, they were a way of life, a bridge to the divine, a spark of joy. Their legacy lives in every cat that curls up on a windowsill, every meme that makes you laugh, every purr that calms your soul. You glance at your cat friend, its eyes glinting in the starlight, and feel a connection across millennia, like you're carrying a piece of Egypt with you. The village is asleep now, the lamps dim, the Nile a dark mirror under the stars. Your cat friend yawns, stretching like it's ready to dream of ancient adventures. You're not sure where you'll go next, but for now, you're content to sit here, the weight of the journey settling like dust. Egypt's cats changed the world, and you've walked in their paw prints, from sacred shrines to sandy graves. You stroke your cat friend's fur, its warmth grounding you, and smile. The legacy isn't just history, it's alive, purring, and probably demanding treats right now. You're still by the Nile, the stars above you soft and endless, like a blanket woven from light. The palm tree sways, its fronds whispering secrets only the night can hear. Your cat friend is curled against you, its breath slow, a tiny heartbeat tying you to this ancient world. The river hums, gentle as a lullaby, carrying away the day's stories: Nefer's bravery, Sekhet's grave, Tamyo's golden collar. You feel them fading, not gone, but softening, like ripples on the water, blending into dreams. Your eyes grow heavy, the sand warm beneath you, and you imagine drifting on the Nile, a boat of reeds rocking you towards sleep. The cats are with you, their purrs a quiet promise. You're safe, you're home, you're part of their story. Let the stars hold you, let the river sing, let your breath match the night's slow pulse. Sleep now, carried by paws that tread through time, soft as moonlight, warm as love.